You think intimacy ends the moment it's over, but the truth is, that's where the real story actually begins. And most men will never even realize it. The place where we don't just talk about attraction, we uncover the hidden layers behind it. The parts no one explains, the emotions no one names, and the psychological truths most people completely miss. Today, we're diving deep into something powerful. What really happens emotionally and psychologically after that final moment of release, and why its impact goes far beyond what most ever imagine. Because here's what no one tells you. The emotional aftermath of intimacy is not shallow. It's not simple. And it's definitely not something that just fades away the second it's over. The physical act may end in a moment, but what follows is a quiet storm of feelings, subtle, intense, and deeply rooted in the mind and body. Right at that exact moment, when everything slows down, the body experiences a unique combination of vulnerability and relief. And that combination, it opens a door, a powerful one, a door to trust, to emotional connection, to something deeper than just physical pleasure. Because it was never just about pleasure, it's about being seen, fully, without filters, without walls. It's about being accepted in a moment where there's nothing to hide, and the mind, without even asking for permission, registers that moment as safety, as comfort, as something real. And that's where things begin to change. Because now, the experience is no longer just physical. It becomes emotional, psychological, memorable. And what happens next matters more than most people think. The smallest gestures, a calm presence, a gentle touch, a quiet word spoken softly, they don't just feel nice, they amplify everything. They deepen the connection. They turn a fleeting moment into something meaningful, something that lingers. The subconscious begins linking that entire experience, not just the act, but the feeling, to emotional security, to trust, to comfort. And that's why moments like these often feel heavy, reflective, almost impossible to forget. Even in silence, something is being communicated: energy, attention, presence. These things speak louder than words ever could. They say, "You're valued." They say, "You're safe." They say, "This meant something." And those silent messages, they stay long after the moment is gone. Understanding this emotional layer is everything because it reveals the truth most people overlook. Intimacy is never just physical. It's a psychological experience, one that has the power to strengthen trust, deepen closeness, and create bonds that go far beyond the surface. Now, here's where it gets even deeper. The psychological impact doesn't just happen in the moment, it continues unfolding afterward. When everything reaches its peak, the mind isn't just processing sensation, it's processing meaning, trust, vulnerability, connection. Even if you're not consciously thinking about it, your mind is registering it all. There's a quiet flood of emotion that follows, a sense of closeness, of attachment. That's hard to explain but impossible to ignore, and it's shaped by the smallest details: attention, presence, responsiveness. These subtle cues send powerful messages to the subconscious. They reinforce safety, they build acceptance, they tell the mind, this is something good, something worth remembering. And this is why two identical experiences can feel completely different depending on the emotional energy behind them, because the brain doesn't just remember what happened, it remembers how it felt. Care and attentiveness amplify everything. Distraction or emotional distance, they quietly weaken it. And then come the biological reinforcements. Hormones like oxytocin begin to flow, strengthening that sense of bonding, creating pathways in the brain that associate that moment with trust, with connection, with closeness. Even something as simple as eye contact, a soft touch, a gentle pause, can shape how that entire experience is stored in memory. This is the invisible layer, the part no one sees, but everyone feels. And it's the difference between something that's quickly forgotten and something that leaves a lasting imprint. Now let's talk about something even more powerful: trust and vulnerability, because at the core of all of this, that's what's really happening. Allowing someone that close, physically and emotionally, isn't casual, it's not small, it's a silent act of faith. A moment where you let your guard down and say, without words, I trust this space. I trust you. And that level of openness, it triggers something deep, a sense of security, a feeling of connection that stays long after everything else fades. And here's the truth. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's proof of emotional strength. It's a signal that the connection is strong enough to hold honesty, to handle being seen without masks, and during these moments, every detail matters. The way attention is given, the way presence is maintained, the way care is expressed, it all reinforces that trust. It all tells the subconscious, this is real, this is safe. But the opposite is also true. Neglect, distraction, emotional absence, they don't just go unnoticed. They slowly break that trust. They weaken the impact. They change how the entire experience is remembered. Because in these moments, the mind isn't just observing, it's learning. It's deciding what this connection means. And that creates a feedback loop where emotional closeness either deepens or quietly fades. Now let's shift into something subtle, but incredibly powerful. The change in energy after it's all over, because something always shifts. Right after that moment, the body relaxes, breathing slows, tension disappears. A calmness begins to spread, not just physically, but mentally. And this calm, it's not empty. It's full of emotion, full of reflection. Sometimes it's contentment, sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's a quiet emotional weight that's hard to explain, but it's always meaningful because this is the moment where everything settles and the mind begins to process what just happened. And again, the smallest actions define everything. A lingering touch, gentle eye contact, a soft voice. These things extend the moment. They deepen it. They turn it into something lasting. But rushing away, disengaging too quickly, that breaks the rhythm. It disrupts the connection. And the mind notices. Because this shift in energy, this quiet transition, is what transforms a physical experience into an emotional one. It's where bonding happens. And speaking of bonding, let's talk about what's happening beneath the surface. The subconscious connection, because this is where things become truly powerful. At the moment of release, the body releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. And this isn't just about feeling good. It's about forming attachment. The brain begins linking that moment with trust, comfort, safety. And these associations don't just disappear. They stay, they build, they influence future emotions and interactions. Even the smallest gestures, touch, presence, tone, get recorded. Because the subconscious is always watching, always learning, always connecting dots. And over time, these moments stack. They shape how closeness feels, how connection is understood, and why certain experiences stay with you long after they're over. Now, here's something most people underestimate: nonverbal communication. Because during intimacy, words are almost irrelevant. Everything is said through energy, through touch, through presence, through how you show up in the moment. A hand that lingers, a body that stays present, a moment of stillness. These things speak louder than anything you could say. They communicate care, attention, emotional closeness, and the subconscious absorbs it all. Even the way breathing changes, the way tension rises and falls. It all sends signals. Signals of reassurance, of desire, of connection. And when that presence continues after the moment ends, it tells the mind, this mattered. It strengthens the bond. But when it's missing, that absence speaks just as loudly, because silence can either feel safe or it can feel empty. And that difference, it changes everything. At the end of the day, intimacy is never just physical. It's emotional, psychological, subconscious. It's a layered experience where every detail, before, during, and after, leaves a mark. The release? That's just the beginning. What truly defines the experience is everything that follows. The energy, the presence, the unspoken connection. That's what people remember. That's what creates lasting impact. And those who understand this, those who approach intimacy with awareness, presence, and intention, they don't just create moments, they create memories. They create connection. They leave something behind that can't be easily forgotten. So if this opened your eyes, even just a little, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss what most people will never be told. And drop the word connection in the comments if you felt the depth of this, because now you know it was never just about the moment, it was always about what comes after.